Thursday, October 5th. Hey, would you do us a bit of roll call?
Yes, it looks like online we have Cheryl Hartman, Alicia Beckholtz, Garrett Hamill, Kyla Leonards, MCAT, and we have MA as a guest. Can I get the name for that, please? MA, can I get your name, please, online? Okay. In 206, we have Commissioners Slotnick, Strohmeyer Vero, Chris Lounsbury, Andrew Chorney, Emmy Bristow, myself, Annie Cathy, Allison France. We have Carrie Powers, Brian West, and we have Sarah Bell and Erica Berglund. I think I got everybody.
Great, thank you.
We're good, thank you.
Okay, do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, so I just had one thought here. I'll ask Brian, my point of order. We have Erica here, who's here to give us a presentation. It is basically almost the last thing on the agenda. Would we be messing with things if we had Erica do her presentation and then launched into all of this? And I'm totally fine to demand Erica just wait quietly.
I don't think there's any issue necessarily with changing the order, as I don't see necessarily large numbers of the members of the public who are waiting to comment on things. The one thing I will say is I need to sneak out of here because we do have CTO interviews going on and make sure that I can get down that process.
Okay.
So I don't know how long Erica's piece is, but we may have to reorder some of the action items just so that I can be here.
Okay. Well,
how long
in that case, because we have these CTO folks flying from far away.
Oh no, it's fine.
I read the agenda. I was fully prepared.
Of course, I'm just saying you may have to.
I think these are going to go quick.
There's your answer, Josh. You do that order.
I'm always the flying one.
No. More accurate information is always better. That's good. That's totally good. All right, we will jump to the consent agenda then.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Excellent.
I second, although I so wish that we had a phonetic translation or spelling of
Number 10.
number 10. I would really love to know how to pronounce that. But anyways, yes, second.
Okay. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out and talk about on this consent agenda? I have passed that already. Okay. No public comment? No public comment. Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Great, thanks. Okay, we have a handful of things from Sarah Bell.
Thank you. This is just a wrap up of the remainder of my contracts for the fiscal year 24. The first is a substance abuse prevention mill levy contract in the amount of $101,077 for Western Montana Mental Health Center and their Project Success program. This funding will support the positions of 2 licensed addiction counselors to support 4 Missoula County Public High Schools, which are Hellgate, Sentinel, Big Sky, and Willard. The counselors provide substance use disorder prevention education to the entire school-wide population through assemblies and outreach, as well as one-on-one counseling with children and their families as needed. And I'll stop with that one because the others are for Alcohol Tax Fund. But yeah.
I have
No questions.
yes, success. I move to approve the PSA with Western Montana Mental Health Center.
Second.
All right, any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
And I'll do the next 3 together. They're all for alcohol tax funding. The first is Youth Dynamics in the amount of $2,469. And this program works with children and families who are at high risk for substance use abuse. And so they're a counseling program who helps provide education and support to folks who are at high risk or have history to substance use. And the funding will be used to support their outreach materials and just kind of general education program. And the next is for Open Aid Alliance. It's their new fiscal year 24 award in the amount of $73,193. Open Aid Alliance provides harm reduction to people who use drugs and overdose prevention and recovery support. So they really are an open door facility who welcomes anyone who is currently using to help them get the support they need with the end goal of reducing abuse. So this funding supports that program. It's called Uncovery. And then the last is in the amount of $36,382.50 for Crosswinds Recovery. And so they're a new recipient of alcohol tax funds this year. They provide a holistic recovery program. They have an in-house program as well as an intensive outpatient program. And this funding would go towards the intensive outpatient programming to support their clinical directors so they can begin to grow that program with a goal of 50 to 80 clients for this fiscal year.
Do we approve items 2, 3, and 4?
Second.
All right, any public comment on items 2, 3, and 4? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Andrew.
So it's going to be the Andrew and Chris show. Sorry, now that we've done the Sarah Bell show. Thanks, Sarah, for coming and talking about what we're going to projects.
Rant for like 5 or 10 minutes on this.
Okay, so I'll try and keep our remarks short. So commissioners, during your convention with MACO, where all 56 counties got together to talk about a host of issues. One of the issues that came up was the school equalization mills, sometimes referred to as the 95 mills that are levied for school equalization. And the counties collectively across the state decided that they would reduce the number of mills that they are levying under the 95 equalization mills to be in compliance with state law 1510-420, which says basically in a nutshell, when the value of properties goes up, the number of mills that are authorized to be levied goes down. And so MACO has worked with both the Department of Revenue and with the Montana Taxpayers Association, with outside expert legal tax counsel to arrive at the conclusion that really what's authorized to be levied under the school equalization mills this year is 77.89 mills for school equalization and 1.3 mills for the VOTEC program, which is what the resolution today before you would set in Missoula County. That overall reduction actually still results in additional funding going into the equalization pot to the tune of about $20 million more than was actually accounted for in the state's adopted fiscal budget for fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25 when the legislature met. So school funding is still maintained intact as part of this. There is no reduction to funding for local schools.
That 20 million goes directly into that particular pot. It's not into the general fund.
So yeah, I will get there. So yeah, so the
Oh, that was a question, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So the 95 mills that are previously collected and what will be 77.89 mills this year actually goes into the state's general fund. Income tax dollars are then added to that pot of money, and then schools are given what's known as A&D, or average attendance is the other name for that. And that fixed dollar amount of about $2,150 per student was already fixed in the legislature. So schools will still get that based on their population counts. So again, schools themselves will receive no less funding because of the fact that the mills are being reduced from 95 to 77.89, which is what is allowed under 1510-420. I just wanted to let you know that as of yesterday afternoon and this morning, already counties that have taken action on this, Beaverhead County has passed this resolution. Carter, Daniels, Fergus, Flathead, Gallatin, Garfield, Glacier, Golden Valley, Jefferson, Lake, Liberty, Phillips, Pend Oreille, Ravalli, Richland, Roosevelt, Valley, Wheatland, and Yellowstone counties, and last night Butte-Silverbow County passed this as well. So Missoula County is not an island unto itself. It is not doing something different than the vast majority of counties around the state are doing. Those other counties are anticipated to take similar action, the ones that have not yet, sometime this week or early next, based on their commissioner meeting schedule.
But what is unique is that the state of Montana chose to file legal action against Missoula County.
Preemptively file legal action.
We were sued on Monday, which, if I remember right, was a few days before today.
It was a few days.
Yes, that is correct.
It was both a few days before today and several days after other large counties in the state of Montana who have various other circumstances, perhaps, than ours related to that, are not named, nor have they been sued. by the state of Montana over this.
This may be the first time in Montana history where a Republican governor has sued Democratic county commissioners so he could raise property taxes.
I am unaware of a similar circumstance in my tenure.
So Commissioners, it goes without saying, we will probably have a meeting sometime next week when this lawsuit is served on commission, and we'll talk about it then.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I was going to say with that, my recommendation would be for you to adopt the resolution and have the chair sign the resolution that sets the school equalization and VOTEC mills.
So I just wanted to double check on my own understanding of this, that 77.9 mils change from 95 to 77.9 mils means we are treating those 95 mils the way that we treat our own mills and property taxes, that they are subject to a mill cap, that basically we use what we used the year before plus a dollar amount that's equivalent to half the 3-year average of inflation.
Yes,
Is that how we got from 95 to 77?
that is how the calculation has been done. Yes.
So the additional 20 million, that's coming from that half the 3-year average of inflation. And we're talking statewide.
Yes.
Just wanted to.
And will be dumped into the state general fund.
And it will go into the state general fund where it will be mixed with income tax dollars to go back out to schools.
And the school budgets are set for the biennium. So if the state wanted to change how much money was going to go to schools or school equalization, they would have to meet in some special session and deal with it. Basically, unless they do that, things are set, schools are set. And I could say, speaking for you guys, we would in no way want to jeopardize school equalization and believe in its necessity and nobility and don't want to mess with that and only want these mills treated in the same way that our mills are treated.
And I would add the same way that local school mills are treated.
And we're following in that hotbed of aggressive political progressivism, Golden Valley County
Yellowstone.
and Yellowstone.
Okay, beat the dead horse a little more, but the concerns that we have received from educators or the education community, what can we tell them?
I can say they're bogus concerns in that.
But they are very concerned and while they may be bogus, what can we do to help?
Well, our action today will in no way, shape, or form take a dime from what is already budgeted for schools across the state of Montana.
The removal of that proverbial dime would require a special session. It's not going to happen. Budgets have been set and there's plenty of money. The state expects to finish this year with a $700 million surplus.
Okay, so I'm being super naive. Why this kind of distrust? Like how are the schools led to believe that they were in such a
I'm just speculating, but it sounds like, well, you're going to reduce the amount of mills, which means reducing the amount of dollars that go to school equalization. Well, reducing dollars sounds like reducing dollars. The reality is the money comes from the general fund. Obligations are basically carved in stone right now, and the state has plenty of money.
I think that's a good way of putting it. The other piece that I would add to that is I think there is some confusion because there is a belief, because they're called school equalization mills, that money somehow goes directly to schools. And it does not. It goes into the state general fund, and then the state general fund pays out equalization dollars based on a state formula called A and B, which is based on average attendance of students, and which is known as average number of belonging. That's what A and B stands for. And that is how the checks are actually written, is out of the state's general fund.
You need to repeat that over and over and over again.
Andy, what the total bill is for school equalization?
The last number that I had heard, and I apologize because I'm not the direct source of this, but when Mako had been working on this, was approximately $1 billion across the state of Montana is what's spent on school equalization, of which the 95 mils is less than half. It's closer to a third of the funding for actual AAC.
If the 95 mils were not altered, if we and all those other counties were to say, okay, we're just sending you that 95 mils, if I understand it right, the state would receive what looks like an additional new money compared to last year, $80 million.
That is correct.
$80 million. And that's $80 million that comes out of local property taxpayers, local property tax dollars. And we're in a spot right now where we hear relentlessly how local property taxes are crushing people. This is an opportunity to reduce property taxes and maintain services in terms of school equalization.
And of course, I never want to throw other agencies or anything under the bus, but the amount of additional funding that would come out of Missoula County for this particular piece is not quite twice what we needed to cover our ongoing operations for this year.
Twice.
So we needed to raise about $3 million. This would generate about $6 million if you were to levy 95 mils of additional coming out of Missoula County.
That's quite amazing.
So,
And I even just to play devil's advocate and to grant that even if it were the case that by us levying fewer than 95 mils would create some sort of a deficit that would need to be backfilled, which it is not. But even if that were the case, the reality is that the state of Montana will be sitting on something like a $700 million budget surplus. And this would simply be shifting the burden to property taxes that otherwise
have come from
could be could draw upon this income tax surplus.
The significance of the difference between property tax and income tax is?
Income tax is based on your ability to pay, and property tax is not.
This is a very rare opportunity where we can reduce property taxes and maintain the quality of services.
Did you have something?
No, I was just gonna say it's about $23 per $100,000 in market value of a home.
So it's like close to $100 in the average house, $100 plus.
Yeah, plus.
And we should take every opportunity we can to reduce property taxes without reducing services.
Okay, I move that the board approve the chair to sign the resolution fixing the mill levy for the state equalization and county high school equalization, county elementary equalization, and VOTEC equalization mill levy authority.
All right, any public comment?
Oh, I forgot.
For the record, JR, could we get your name? To unmute, do *6. Nope. Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We have Martin or Brett on. Okay. There we go. Thank you for the great explanations, both of you guys.
Be added to that list.
We added to the list.
Added to the list. So the next item is also mine, commissioners. So this is the salary schedule for elected officials for fiscal year 24. Just as a reminder, you have a compensation board, which is required by law, that's made up of the 3 commissioners and the county attorney, and then 3 other elected officials. This year, that was the county auditor, Dave Wall, the sheriff, Jeremiah Peterson, and the clerk and recorder treasurer Tyler Gernant, as well as up to 4 citizen representatives. This year, that was Steve Johnson and Karen Harrison, who were your citizen representatives. You had about 4 meetings where we went through a bunch of information based on what the statute requires, which includes everything from number of vehicles being registered to the property values in Missoula County, trying to look at fair and complete compensation, as well as you heard from staff a recommendation for an increase in the uniform base to help keep us competitive with the city of Missoula Police Department. And the reason that's important is because deputy sheriffs earn a percentage of what the sheriff is paid. And right now we lag behind the city of Missoula, even without their projected 8% increase for law enforcement this year. We lag behind them anywhere from 8% to more than 19% in pay for the various ranks inside the deputy sheriffs. And so that increase in the uniform base translated to approximately a 4% increase across all the elected officials' total compensation for this year, spread out across the different categories of uniform base, longevity, and other statutory add-ons. So that's kind of my short report on the compensation schedule, and I would ask that you sign that, and that went into effect after you sign it today, but we'll start with the first full pay period of the fiscal year. So we'll have a little bit of work on the HR side to do to catch deputies and others up.
My only comment on this is I'm really glad we were able to raise deputy pay, and we have seen vacancies filled for the first time since I've been here. The sheriff's department will almost be fully staffed, which is super important. And hopefully we'll stop having great, talented, experienced deputies leave our sheriff's department for MPD.
Move that we approve and sign the resolution.
Second.
All right, any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And my apologies, I'm going to step out. So that I can
Thanks, Chris.
CTO process, but
Thanks a lot.
very capable hands of the folks here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry that I can't stay.
Kyla.
Hi, Commissioners. The first item I have before you is an amendment to the Community Council bylaw resolution. The Community Council bylaw template was created in 2021 under Resolution 2021-063. The updated bylaw template reflects some changes to the Community Council operations and some minor clarifications under duties and responsibilities. The resolution needs to be amended for the updated bylaws to be approved and adopted. The amended resolution and updated bylaws are only for community councils and don't affect any other county board or other committees bylaws. And I can go into more explanation, but that is up to you.
I move to approve the 2023 amendments to community council bylaw resolutions.
Second.
Any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have appointments to the Parks and Trails Board.
Yes, so we've had a vacancy for the second alternate on this board. We had 3 new applicants apply: Nicole Sedlak, Ian Roof, and Annie Gillespie. So the request would be to appoint one of these 3 to fill the remainder of the second alternate term through December 31st, 2026 to the Parks and Trails Advisory Board.
I missed some of these, so
I have an opinion on it
Great.
after being part of it. So I was really impressed with Mr. Roof and also appreciate where he lives and thinking around diversity of representation, and that would be Ian Roof.
good with it.
If we appoint this individual.
Oh, thanks.
Second.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks.
Thank you.
You remained awake through all that talk on taxes, which usually does not happen.
You want to hit correspondence really?
Oh, I'm
quick?
sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize for missing that. Let's do correspondence. We have a National Neighborhood Promise Grant letter of support.
Apparently we do.
Yeah, sorry, I got super up to speed on it. It sounds like we maybe talked about it at Thursdays at last.
From Aaron for the food bank.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a letter of support for the food bank's application for National Neighborhood Promise Grant.
To expand their facility.
Yes.
Expand their facility.
Mhm.
Wow.
As they have grown, the communities that they serve from less than half of the county statewide to now, they have programs in every single county across the state.
All 50
Wow.
cents.
So they are buying.
Oh, I think you said food bank. This is Food Bank Network.
Food Bank Network.
Oh, now I remember. I was like, how's the food bank expanding?
Sorry,
They just built their building.
I'm sorry.
Now I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't had any
We're good.
expansion since 2012.
Yeah, they're stretched in.
Thank you for.
Yeah, thanks. And we're
And then we
happy.
have 5 thank you letters going
Oh, I'm so glad that
out.
happened. Thanks a lot.
From Shane Stack or Alan Jeans. So
That's great.
yes, Alan Jeans, MGT.
Alan was the gentleman who funded the speed signs in Sealy.
Yes.
Senator Hertz.
And then Senator Hertz.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for making those happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie.
Did we miss the thanks for nothing letter to Department of Revenue?
No.
That's forthcoming.
Forthcoming.
No, to be fair, they said this, I mean, they said this was gonna happen in November. Like there was an opportunity, like, so we can't, we're not gonna throw the
They
department.
are the ones suing us.
On behalf of their.
I think they're the ones saying us, Department of Administration, right?
There we go.
Brian could tell us exactly.
I can't tell you exactly.
Department Administration as the named subdepartment.
Okay, Department of
I
Administration.
didn't know we had it.
I'm standing up for Department of Revenue. Just doing their jobs.
I think then we knocked out court.
So much, yes.
And thank you for your patience, Erica. And I also say, besides thank you for your patience, thank you for your leadership. I haven't been able to be as much a part of this as I would like, and I'm just a fly on the wall at these meetings, but you've done a great job.
Thank you.
And without that, I feel like they would have been flailing and really needed somebody like you. Good job that you could be you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Let's see, I have.
We should be able to share a screen here.
presentation here. It's, options are not showing up.
We have help at hand if you need it.
Shift E. I think I just did something funny to my computer today, so. Right.
Thanks, Erica.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am the current chair of the City County Food Policy Advisory Board. And just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a bit of an update on the things we've been working on in the last year since I think I came to present last September. So
Those
are Bart's. Yeah, so like he's got
Chet's neighborhood.
Just real quick, a reminder of our board's charge, focusing on food access, sustainability of natural resources and agriculture, economic development around local food, and a strong, vibrant local food system in the city and county. And as an update, our current board membership, we do have a vacancy from the city council side recently. And as we just mentioned him, unfortunately, Bart will not be re-upping his seat, which is up at the end of this calendar year. So that'll be on your radar.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. We very much appreciate his expertise in having a local sustainable rancher on our board has been a huge asset. So just so you know, that'll be coming down the pike, and hopefully you'll be getting some applications soon. And I guess I'll just back up a little. So just, a couple ranchers on our board, a local food restaurateur, a new someone with experience in kind of food marketing, and also has just started, Grant Melton just started his a local cookie company. Jenny is our CFAC representative. Lori once just finished up at Garden City Harvest and now is in law school. So an interesting perspective. And then Amy Allison Thompson, who is the executive director of the Missoula Food Bank. So good diversity of folks. You'll remember, I think I came to present after we wrapped up the Rapid Community Food Assessment from 2022. But just as a reminder, we've conducted this survey twice now to get a sense of what the local, what Missoula County residents are concerned about when it comes to food and agriculture and what they would like to see out of our board, essentially. So this year we had the opportunity, I worked with Emmy to get that up on Missoula County Voice, which was a great platform for us to utilize. Got about 350 responses from county residents, and just kind of overarching, just a snapshot here. Most important issues facing our local food system: affordability of healthy food being the number one concern among folks, followed by hunger and food insecurity, and affordability of farmland. So So in the last year-ish, kind of our priorities as a board have really been focused on school meals, which is, as you may be aware, is a tricky area to get involved in, excuse me, as a city county board, as we don't necessarily have a lot of the relationship between school districts and our board is a little unclear as to what leverage points we have. So we've been trying to understand how we might get involved in school meals, how we might support more local food in school meals. So that's kind of a work in progress. You may remember we've pretty much since the board has been around, been talking about local meat processing, been talking about food waste reduction and composting as well, and local food marketing and promotion. Some of our internal priorities have been around building our engagement with the community and through, in part, kind of communicating and marketing ourselves as a board so folks know that we're around and here to hear about their concerns and interests. And just trying to strengthen some of our internal operations as a board and leverage new partnerships. And some other things that we're looking to support the city code update. That's a little TBD. Small farmland productions within the county, just supporting the open lands efforts to develop a conservation tool there. And just looking at ways we can support better utilization of existing programs in the city and county. So a few things, some that we've accomplished with relation to these priority areas. So school meals has really been educating ourselves, meeting with the health department nutrition staff. Emily Dunkley, who recently left the health department, but previously was their community nutrition specialist, did a whole bunch of research on county school meals that has been really interesting and helping us understand kind of the dynamics of students in the county that are utilizing school meals and kind of the economics around that. So again, looking at ways we can maybe leverage our role as a city county board in influencing the nutrition and sourcing of school meals.
This may be an esoteric question. Do you have a sense of how much money does the school district have to spend per meal?
Oh, it's very small. It's very really small. I think it's like $2. Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing.
So the opportunities are very limited, but I think in the long term, if we get more families who can afford, to pay a little extra and wanting to buy school meals, that margin can increase. Yeah. So in the long term, it's kind of a chicken or the egg, as I understand it.
Money it would cost across the county, and not asking, just ruminating. If we were to lift that to $5, what would that cost? And if it wasn't tax money, even if we found some external grant source, like what would that dollar number be? I'm also remembering one thing when, this is way back in my old days of being a teacher at the university, I was on a graduate committee for a guy who was studying nutrition and health and human performance. And he was specifically looking at wildland firefighters, which is why I'm looking at you, my friend Dave, and at how nutrition and performance were linked. And he kind of mumbled this one statistic as he was doing his presentation. And this was probably 5-6 years ago. It was about $18 a meal that these money was being spent on these firefighters so they could eat well while they're doing their thing. And it turned out the ones that really performed well, and they had all kinds of physical measures determining performance, had augmented those meals with their own snacks, and the snacks fell in different categories and was mostly about nutrition. But when I was listening to this, I was thinking, wow, $18 a meal. And well, we better be spending a lot of money because we have serious performance expectations around these firefighters. And meanwhile, we're spending a couple bucks a meal on kids. And similarly, we have performance expectations. They're supposed to learn and behave well and do a good job and succeed and hit benchmarks on standardized tests. And interesting that we don't value that performance or don't want to stack the odds towards success on those performance levels by feeding them well.
Yeah, that lead in the water pipes.
And I'm not saying that the firefighters, I'm not saying their money should be cut at all. I was just using that as a corollary. I'm happy.
They're bloated. They don't need.
Yeah, the economics of it are really complicated and there's not currently a lot of wiggle room, but I think our board is still very interested in finding opportunities to start to influence that.
It'd be just curious if maybe you guys could figure out over the next few months or whatever, what take, how much money would it take to lift that, to double that per meal number? I'm not saying it would come from taxes, but maybe we think of other sources of revenue. Especially if some of that money could be spent on things like meat from Bart or Jody.
Yeah. Well, I'll move on for the sake of time, but yeah, it's a very interesting issue. And I think a lot of us on the board are very concerned about what our local children are able to eat and how they're able to sustain themselves. So local meat processing, we hosted a multi-stakeholder roundtable discussion this past spring, bringing different folks together to kind of just chat about the challenges and opportunities. I'll dig into that a little bit more in a minute. We're currently exploring partnerships with the College of Business, which is very exciting to see how we might leverage, student brain power and enthusiasm and ideas to kind of move the needle forward for this topic. Food waste reduction, composting. Last fall, we had a student intern through who helped compile policy ideas from other communities around this topic. And there's been some effort through the city climate and sustainability office to develop a task force that is in part supported by our board.
What did the intern what were like some of the policies that they figured out or
have them on?
Don't worry, you can send it to me because I think this is super important and it'd be great to figure out how we can
there's some policy
move forward.
Ideas around retail food waste, disposable items, takeout items. There's some examples of ordinances there. I'm trying to think of some of the more interesting ones. I think there's ideas for, in part, it would need to begin to account for our waste and understand what is going to the landfill, especially in terms of food waste. But I think there's some ideas for ensuring that kind of local business entities that are producing a certain amount of food waste, that they are required to compost it, those sorts of things. So yeah, there's some really interesting ideas out in the world, across the country that could be applied here. So, and I think one of the things that this task force was starting to talk about was simply starting to market, do kind of a marketing week of what is available in terms of composting and ways that food waste can be reduced. And then the last priority area being local food marketing and promotion. We've done some research on policy ideas around this and ways that we can kind of boost local food. And one of the needs that came out of our roundtable discussion around meat processing also related to local meat education and marketing, kind of understanding where your dollar goes as a consumer when you buy local meat. So just focusing on this local meat processing and our roundtable discussion, just to give you a sense, we partnered with a graduate student to help facilitate this, who is working on their natural resource and conflict resolution certificate. So this student helped reach out to stakeholders and invited them and facilitated a conversation. Some of the folks in attendance were Josh and city councilor Heidi West and several local ranchers. Tom Andrews, who is the director of the Big Sky High School agricultural education program. So he runs their facility, their processing facility. We had someone who came in a personal capacity, but works for the USDA, so had an interesting insight. So, and then some folks from the health department who have more of the understanding of the environmental regulations that would need to be considered in considering meat processing locally. So ultimately, it was a really interesting conversation, and it was, I think, a great opportunity to bring different folks who might be involved in this issue together. And some of the things that came out, as I mentioned, just in sense of wanting to increase education and marketing around local meat. So the idea of like, if we were able to move forward with a facility, whatever that would look like, would the consumers in Missoula County fully support the economics of it? Would they get behind local meat? And in exploring that question, realizing that maybe there's an opportunity to do a little bit more marketing around local meat. And then business operation and economic viability, understanding and trying to get a little more information on what it would really take to open up a facility in Missoula County and make it economically viable. So that's where we are building off of hopefully a partnership with the College of Business, and then continuing to understand our local zoning and regulations and how that might impact what is possible. So in terms of internal priorities, I'll just go through this real quick. We created our own email address, which doesn't sound exciting, but it is exciting for us. Through the county. So that is a place that people can hopefully.
That's a great email address.
And search and direct their questions. So we're pretty excited about that and kind of expanding our communications around that. We also launched our first newsletter so we're hoping to send out quarterly newsletters via email. We generated a decent list of about 120 folks from the most recent survey we did who were interested in hearing from us. So we're pretty excited about that, and just have built some processes around onboarding and looking at how the board functions. Partnerships, again, a lot of partnerships with which is very exciting. So we last fall partnered with the Climate Change Program to host an intern, as I mentioned, which the county generously supported financially so that we could pay our intern, which is wonderful. As I mentioned, the Natural Resource and Conflict Resolution Program, a student there, and then the potential partnership with the College of Business. And we also have been working with the City Climate and Sustainability Office. And as you are aware, the county again supported us through some funding for the fiscal year 2024, which the city matched equally. So we have a little bit of funding to support us, which is very exciting and help build some capacity around these topics. And this is just a snapshot of our newsletter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited. So next steps is, using that budget to support 2 student interns. So we're in discussion about what those internships should look like and the topics that we want those folks to focus on. A little bit of funding to strengthen and increase the reach of our rapid community food assessment survey so that we can start to reach a more representative sample so that the data that we gather can really give us a snapshot of Missoula County as a whole. And a little bit of funding to continue our quarterly newsletter communication. So, and we've recently been talking about what the next year should look like for the board. We'd like to continue focusing on school meals, local meat processing, and food waste reduction. Some a brainstorm of new ideas. So we haven't committed to these yet, but some interesting ideas we've been discussing is an urban fruit tree registry. So that folks who have fruit trees register them, and if they're not interested in gathering that fruit, someone else is allowed to come grab it. So that we're not just wasting food and creating, animal conflict. I know a topic that Josh has brought up is kind of understanding our ditch infrastructure and kind of the economics around that and who it's impacting. There's some interest in kind of digging in a little bit more to the natural resource side of things and understanding our aquifer and how this impacts our drinking water. And then we're also looking at supporting guidance and clarity around the Local Food Choice Act, which was a state law that was passed in 2021, and it impacts cottage food regulations, which basically folks making things in their home kitchen. And it's a complicated law, but basically they don't necessarily, if they follow certain rules, they don't necessarily need to be inspected or apply for permitting or anything. However, they're still liable for if a food safety issue came up and someone got sick, they would still be liable, but they don't have to on the front end go through the health department. So there's some, as we understand it through our CFAC representative, there's been a lot of confusion from producers around this law and what they can and cannot do and kind of the risks and benefits. Of course, if they don't have to be inspected or apply for permits, that's a huge cost savings. Placement 11. Okay. It's a huge cost savings, but again, the risk can be quite substantial. So anyway, we'd like to talk to the health department and understand how they're kind of guiding local producers around this act and see if there are opportunities for us to help improve the understanding around it. So that was a lot. We have some questions for you. Feel free to jump in if there's any. Curious if you've heard from your constituents about any topics around food and ag that should be on our radar, if you see opportunities for growth, and if you see any areas that we're not focusing on as a board that you think is a missed opportunity. Or I'm putting you on the spot, so.
To be honest, nobody has contacted me about anything agricultural related.
Yeah. Which is kind of
at least recently.
Yeah.
But certainly, I would love to see things progress on the meat processing front. I think that's something that we've wrestled with for a long time and have heard from folks about over time. Again, I've not heard from anyone recently on that either, but I know it's an important issue for the community.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just met with a professor at the business college yesterday who was like, I'm going to start talking about this with my students tomorrow and see if they're interested, and we'll see what comes of it. So, and he, Professor Eric Guzik, is more on the entrepreneurial side of the business college and is looking at maybe there's things we haven't thought of, and maybe our students, many of whom may come from a ranching family, might have some interesting new ideas on the topic. So
what sort of engagement, if any, have you had with CSKT, Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes? Because I know they too have been looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great point. And we haven't had any engagement with CSKT on this topic yet. And it's something I would definitely, as they progress with their facility, I would love to understand and understand how they're moving forward.
How about just in general with the tribe, since the Flathead Reservation overlaps with Missoula County?
Admittedly, not enough. We haven't had any direct communication with the tribe. So that's a great point.
No, I think that would be something worth putting on your list of.
Absolutely.
Just because I haven't been to the last two meetings, I apologize. I've just been crushed. But on the irrigation side, the two thoughts probably be good for us to look to see if we could partner it all with the CD, with the Conservation District. And then if we do come up with a plan, I mean, we have amazing GIS folks here who can help us on mapping. I think that would be something you guys could come to us and say, here's what we want to find out. Could you help us? This might be a way we can help with human resource or professional capacity as opposed to just straight up dollars.
Yeah.
And then on the, I know you heard me go on about this item around the food waste composting, really because it would help us meet our climate goals. The methane is such a powerful climate gas. And if we could have passed an ordinance at the county, I think we would have done it a long time ago, but this is so much more of a city thing. But we're going to see a change in city leadership. So it might be worthwhile thinking about some type of presentation, and I'm totally happy to kind of grease the skids and set it all up, but to talk about the real gains we could make in meeting our climate goals by instituting a phased in institutional food waste composting program. And that's not homeowners, but restaurants, hospitals, major producers of food waste. Those of you who don't know, or this is causing you to glaze over, when we put food waste into the landfill, it makes methane, and methane gets burned off, and it's super powerful climate gas, stronger than CO2 even. Lots and lots of places across the country have figured out how to do this. And we're ahead of most in that we already have a composting facility that the city runs. There's land, there's gear, there's staff. Like if we wanted to institute food waste composting, we would have to spend millions of dollars to get to that point. We already spent the money, it's already there. We just need to figure out how to divert the largest food waste producers. Again, not homeowners, not food trucks, not tiny little restaurants, but the jail, the university, the hospitals. That has to be, that needs to be a thou shalt, and it would have to come from the city, but I think maybe there's some space there.
Something just to be aware of that you might already, within the next year, we will be kicking off the process to update our growth policy for Missoula County outside of the urban area here. And so certainly that would be something to watch as we're looking at future land use across the town.
I think I'm noticing just listening to you present right now, this is really has started to act and behave a little differently than some of our other boards. And I don't think you see that as a problem at all. This is brand new. It's great that Sarah's sitting right here. Without Sarah and Anna Conley, this never would have happened. So it's kind of cool that you get to sit here and see this. The other boards are pretty much straight up advice. You guys are drifting much more into programming, which I don't see as a bad thing, but maybe we should see this as, what else should we be doing here? Because your ability to do programming is somewhat confined by your identity as a board. And yet some of this program stuff needs to be done. What does that mean for the future? I don't know, but I just want to call it out as a difference between this board and other boards. And that has been not a pun here, an organic development, not a
which I will say is very common across the nation for very similar food policy. They tend to move towards programming rather than policy, but or advising on policy. But which is interesting you bring up, because we're very excited to have some funding, but it's a bit of a question of how we get to use it, and that we obviously as a board don't have. We don't manage money ourselves. So I was going to ask if there's a partnership with a county department potentially where we could work that out, but.
I think we would have to hold that question till Chris comes back.
Yeah, I know.
But a question that should be answered.
Yes.
Couldn't be right now just because.
Yeah, I think we continue to tread new territory. So, and both the city and county are like, they, very excited that they're willing to support us, but there's definitely a question of how this actually happens.
We can look into that.
We'll work on it. Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For all the good work and great leadership that Erica is doing outside of her real job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, now we have the all important Commissioner Holiday office schedule.
So, November 20th through 24th, the 23rd is Thanksgiving. Dave, you're out.
I'm out that entire week.
You're out that whole week. Juan is remote. Josh, of course, Thursday will be out. Normally Friday, the office is closed. Do you want any extended time besides those 2 days for Thanksgiving?
Man, I don't know yet. Why don't we just say I would be remote too?
Remote, okay.
Come in if need be. I don't know yet what my
Is there anything critical that week that we?
There is one item, this is Kyla, on Monday, sorry, I'm still listening. On Monday, the 20th, Josh, you have that elections canvas and Sophie Moise, but that's the only
Okay.
item that is critical that week.
I'll make sure I'm here then.
Yeah, so that's the only critical item for that week.
She's canvas. But you're out. And who else is doing that then? I guess two other elected officials.
Erica
was Dave
Grin,
Wall last.
or sorry, Dave Wall and Amy McGee.
All right, that'll be wonderful. Thank you for that.
So,
Why don't I just say I'll be here Monday, but I'm not going to be here the other days unless we come up with something critical.
perfect. Okay. And then Christmas,
Can I tell you?
yeah, usually you guys take a week off at Christmas,
Yeah.
much deserved.
Oh, me too.
So Christmas hits Monday.
Mhm.
So I was thinking the 25th through the 29th,
Mhm.
for you guys to be out.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And we can adjust as needed.
Thank you, Annie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot. All right, and I think we're done.
All right. Thank you.
Got everything from taxes to scheduling.